A few months ago I discovered the YouTube channel of the journalist Tim Pool. Now one of the first things I noticed is that he likes to portray himself as a centrist liberal, even though he clearly tilts to the right on most issues. Indeed, his channel is almost entirely devoted to attacking the left, and his audience of hardcore Trump supporters reflects that. Recently, he has been attacking socialism, using strawman arguments that you would expect from the likes of Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, and Sargon of Akkad. For example, in his video entitled "Why Democrats Are Embracing Anti-Capitalism and Socialists," he states the following.
I have a lot of friends who tell me they're democratic socialists. And when I ask them very simple questions like, do you believe you have a right to profit off of your labor? They say yes. And right away, you've just said you're a capitalist. Because the Democratic Socialists of America, one of the lightest forms of socialism that we've seen, actually does not agree with profit. And that is not my opinion. It's on their website. They actually are calling for the abolishment of capitalism, meaning the private individual has no right to control the fruits of their own labor.
This moronic definition of profit is refuted by the fact that 8 billionaires own as much wealth as half the world's population. Are these people rich because they simply work far harder than everyone else? Of course not. Profit is the result of the capitalist stealing the value produced by workers. Say if a capitalist owns a shoe factory, it costs $25 for the base costs, the raw materials and the use of the machinery, etc. A worker then comes in and manufactures a pair of shoes. The capitalist pays the worker $30 and sells the pair of shoes for $80. So from the base costs of $25, the worker has added $55 worth of value but is only paid $30. That means the capitalist has made $25 profit, stealing the value created by the worker. Now I think it is quite easy to see that the definition of profit that socialists use is far superior to Tim Pool's ridiculous definition. Just look at the world. Are billionaires who earn thousands of dollars per minute superhuman creatures who work millions of times harder than everyone else? No. Capitalists make massive profits because they pay their workers far less than the value the workers actually produce. The more they exploit, the richer they get. That is why you see multinationals set up shop in third world countries. They make more money there because they can get away with paying their workers a pittance. Now socialists have been talking about this for more than a century. For example, when I was talking about the shoe factory, I was largely basing my points on Marx's concept of surplus value, which of course is central to Marx's political theory. Or take this famous American cartoon from 1911, which shows the capitalist class living off the labour of the working class. And then there was Lenin's slogan, "He who does not work, neither shall he eat." Now this was not directed at the unemployed, elderly or the disabled, but at the capitalist class who exploited labour. Now the capitalists I talked about throughout this video, the billionaires and the millionaires, are barely mentioned by Pool in his video. Instead, Pool prefers to talk about wage labourers and self-employed carpenters.
To put it simply, if you build a birdhouse and it costs you $20 to buy the wood, to buy the screws and the glue, and then you sell that birdhouse for $30, you have a $10 profit. That means that you have $20 to make another birdhouse and continue doing your job, and $10 with which you can spend on food and rent and expenses, and if you sell enough birdhouses, your profit might become a living wage. On the DSA website, their Constitution, Article 2 purpose, they say we are socialists because we reject an economic order based on private profit. They go on, and I'll look at some more of what they say, but I want to point out that private profit, as I mentioned, simply means that an individual gets to control the fruits of their labor. That if you do work, you as a private individual will generate profit, and you can live off that profit as a wage beyond the cost of your labor.
Pool seems to not understand that the self-employed carpenter and the wage labourer do not engage in the exploitation of labour. Wage labourers are exploited by capitalists, as I have outlined, whilst the self-employed carpenter works for himself or as an independent contractor for a large company. Now Tim Pool, who is attempting to critique the Democratic Socialists of America's calls to abolish profit, should know what they are really calling for is the end of exploitation. So they were not talking about workers who earn a wage or self-employed carpenters, but people like the founder and CEO of Amazon, who earns $11 million an hour whilst his workers live on food stamps. So Tim Pool's claim that socialists want the abolishment of profit because they don't believe people should be entitled to the fruits of their labour is simply a straw man and shows his conservative bias.